So to make up for the difference, 21% comes from monthly donations, just people in the community who are passionate about what we do and want to see us be able to keep our doors open. Adoptions make up 12% of that. So we try to keep our adoption fee as reasonable as possible, and it doesn't really cover the costs that go into each animal. The spays, the neuters, the vaccines, the tests, the microchipping, all that adds up to be quite a bit more than the adoption fee. And so it does help us, but if we charged for each animal what we put into them, it would be very difficult to find placements for a lot of the animals. Trust, estates, and grants make up 25%. And like I was talking earlier, the Moscow Giving Circle awarded us a grant this past year. Latah Community Foundation just awarded us a grant as well. So we've been getting more involved with the grant system and reaching out to more organizations, letting them know where our needs are and how they can help us. Fundraising makes up 11% of our budget. And we have some pretty staple annual fundraisers that maybe you've heard of. Right now, we're currently still in one is the alternative giving market. The online giving is open until the 14th. This year, it sounds like it's been a pretty record year for alternative giving market, which is awesome. It's one of my favorite events. I love being down in the great room and seeing all of these community organizations. It just blows my mind. I'm from a very small community where we didn't have a lot of community-based service organizations. There was maybe one or two that I can think of, and so being part of a community that has that much love for each other, it's wonderful. And you get to choose between 32 different nonprofits and help them with their goals. It's a wonderful thing. If you've never been to one, I really highly encourage you going to one next year or checking it out online. We also have our soup and pie. It's an old one that we brought back last year, and it's a great way to just get to know other people who are interested in helping the Humane Society while you're enjoying a cup of soup and a slice of heaven. We last year started one of my new fun traditions of you can buy a whole pie and just pick different pieces of each pie. So if it's really hard to decide which one you want to try that day, you have the option of trying them throughout the week. And that will be here on February 25th this year. And we also have a new one that we're hoping will become annual, our kitten shower that I was talking about a little bit earlier. During that fundraiser, we're able to promote our spay and neuter program and why it's so important to get your animal spayed and neutered. This last year, Sierra and I raised, between the two of us, 70 orphan kittens. So that means no sleep during the summer, but it's an adorable issue for us to face each year, but we're really hoping we can cut down on the unwanted litters in Latah County through our spay and neuter program and through humane education to let people know this really is a problem, and even though your cat is super cute, we really don't need it to reproduce. We have enough. Another one of our annual fundraisers that maybe some of you have been involved in is our 5K, our Palouse 5K that we have in June, in the spring in June. And this is another one of my favorite fundraisers because dogs are welcome. So we get to see some animals that were adopted from the shelter, and we get to meet some new dogs that are pretty cool. And in September, we have our Howling at Hamilton. It's the last day that the city pool is open, and so dogs from the community can come have a swim before the pool is shut down for the year. This year we had 380 dogs, so it's a lot of dogs, but the dogs are just so excited about it. There's so much for them to do that we very rarely have any dogs that get into little tussles or anything, because it's all the way fenced in. Dogs can just run, owners get to know each other. This is another reason why owning pets is so great, because it opens you up to so many opportunities to socialize that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise. We also do our pet pictures with Santa. We just did that the last 2 weekends, and again, it's another one of my favorite ones because we get to see so many animals that were adopted from the shelter, and I get to meet so many new animals. Been doing this since 2004, and I cannot meet enough animals. I don't know what's wrong with me about this, but My cheeks hurt so bad after the fundraisers where Pets Are Welcome, because maybe you notice this too. You see an animal and all your stress just kind of melts away, and you just feel this happiness. Animals are great for us in so many ways, and the CGC agrees. It lowers our cholesterol, it lowers our blood pressure, and it also increases our opportunities to get out and be more active and to meet new people. So pets are great. I mean, I think we can all agree that pets are pretty cool. So aside from our fundraisers, we have other events that we try to do annually, and we've been trying to do more of these, and they're adoption events. We like to take the animals out of the shelter and get them into businesses so people can meet them somewhere that maybe isn't as daunting. I know a lot of people, when they think of a shelter, think, oh, I can't go there. All they can picture is the ASPCA commercials with Sarah McLachlan singing in the background, and they just don't want a good cry that day, so they don't want to come to the shelter. And so we've been able to get animals that were at the shelter for 8 years adopted by taking them out of the shelter and going to these events so that they can meet the people who normally would just not really feel like they were up to going into the shelter. So we, last year at the Umpqua Bank here in town, we adopted out 7 of our longest standing cats by just getting them out of the shelter and getting them to a new place where they can meet the community. We also do them at Petco and at Pets Are People too. And we have found that even though we don't always get animals adopted, it's a great opportunity for us to get to talk to the community a little bit more about the Humane Society and what we do and how they can get involved. So before I open up to questions, there's some ways that you can get involved, and they might surprise you. So if you're on Facebook or social media, if you see an adoptable pet post, share it. It's really that easy. We have had animals get adopted all across the country just because our Facebook posts get shared. And it's wild to me that somebody would drive that far for a black and white tuxedo cat that they saw online, but they do it, and it's amazing. So, and it's not just for our shelter, just any group that you're a part of, every time you share that animal, you're really helping them find their forever home. Another great way is to join the Lost and Found groups on Facebook. There's a handful of them now for the different areas in town, but we have found that reuniting stray animals that come in without microchips, when we post them on those groups, they get networked and shared. So we've been able to reunite way more animals now than we ever were in the past. This year, we've had over 300 dogs come in, and over 200 were reunited with their owners, and we adopted out 80 of them, but our goal is always get them back with their people. That's where they want to be. So, and we've had the same amount of luck with some of the cats that have come in. We get them posted on those social pages, and now, you know, last year we had 1%. We had 1 cat get claimed by their owner. This year we've had 30. So really being, if you're on Facebook at all, joining those groups and sharing those posts, it really does change that animal's life. So is there anything I haven't covered that anyone would like to know about?
Yeah, with your cats, with the cats on loan, or I forget what the term is, just for a short time, something like that.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about doing that with dogs or not?
Yes, definitely. We see a lot more unwanted litters of kittens than of puppies in this area. But it is, we've done senior fosters or medical fosters. One of my favorite dogs that went into this program, her name is Jamie. And when she came in, she had a condition I had never seen before. It blew my mind. But we got her to the vet, and it turned out that her treatment would take 30 days. And we were like, oh man, you know, that kind of treatment in a very stressful environment. We were worried that we might have to do surgery at the end because combating stress and trying to help them heal in that kind of environment can be very difficult. So we reached out to one of our foster families, and they're like, oh yeah, totally, we'll let Jamie heal at our house. They ended up adopting her. But all of her progress was very successful. And we've done that with senior cats that just need a little bit more. The shelter is daunting for us, it can also be very daunting for them. And so any animals that need just a little bit more than the shelter can provide, we try to get them out to our foster homes. And then we advertise them on our social media or our website or at adoption events, and the foster parents can bring them in. And it's great if they bring them to the adoption events, because then they can be part of meeting the families that they go to and get to have a little bit of closure with handing them over. But we do supply all of the things that are needed. So if it's a medical foster, we make sure that we're getting them all the medications sent home that they need, the diet that they need, supplies, pretty much. We supply the animal and all of the necessities, and the homes supply the love and a safe place for them to crash until they're ready for adoption.
Well, I have 2 or 3 questions. First one is, what's the relationship between the Humane Society and the Animal Control Officer, who is, I believe, a person that's employed by the city of Swansea?
Yeah, so we work with the animal control officer. He brings animals in that are at large, and then we try to find the owners. But he works out of the police department, and he comes to the shelter from time to time, just to collect city money from maybe impounds or to bring us another animal.
Okay, so you work in that way. My second question was, are your facilities adequate?
No, they are not.
And is there plans on making them adequate?
So one of the issues that we face is that it's a city building, and that really helps our annual budget, not having to provide the building for ourselves. So we've been talking with the city about, okay, relocating might be difficult at the moment, but can we maybe expand? Could we move the dog park to a different location so that the shelter could expand into our parking lot, giving us the rooms that we need? When the shelter was built, if I read the plans correctly, which I might not have, we had space for 9 cats. And we will have well over that most of the time. So we're lacking a few rooms that would be very valuable to the animals. We don't have a quarantine area for dogs. All of our dogs are housed in the same room, which is very dangerous. We need to have a separate quarantine area for dogs, especially ones that come in with illness, or dogs that are aggressive that we don't want the general public going in and seeing. We house any dog that bites in Latah County at the Humane Society for 10 days. So we have a chain with a sign that we hang up, but people are very curious. So it doesn't always stop everyone. We also don't have a room separate for quarantine for cats when they're ill. So anytime we have an animal come in with a fatal illness, we have to completely rearrange the shelter to get them in quarantine, and sometimes we even have to close to people coming in because we don't have the space to get the animals where they need to be. So there are quite a few more rooms we could add on to the shelter that would really help us make sure that the animals are healthy and that our public is healthy. We don't want anyone exposed to illnesses that they can take home to their own pets. So we are very not where we need to be, and we're really hoping we can get some expansion really quickly.
So as a longtime advocate for that expansion that you're suggesting, and as the spouse of the veterinarian, a supporter of the Humane Society, and former mayor, I can appreciate that the facilities needs are great. And so last night, being the insomniac, I was watching Stephen Colbert, and he and Whoopi Goldberg had this sort of celebrity pitching the puppies contest where they would tell lies about these adorable puppies, and they have a 100% adoption rate. So it occurred to me that some kind of a celebrity marketing campaign for our local Humane Society might engage those policymakers who are overseeing the city's budget to try to prioritize some of those needs, to personalize it, to maybe make the urgent needs clearer to some of them, and involving those elected officials in some kind of hands-on capacity, I would hope might help.
Oh yes, definitely. One of our board members, Sandra Kelly, this is one of her passions, and so she has been extremely beneficial to the shelter with helping us learn this is the way we need to start approaching this. These are the things we need to learn so that when we do approach it, we're coming from hopefully an angle that is easy to understand. You know, when we talk about quarantine for animals, if you haven't worked with animals, you might not understand why that's so very important. Being married to a veterinarian, I'm sure you do understand why cross-contamination is a big, scary thing when you're talking about herd health with that many animals under one roof. So yes, we are very, very eager to get moving on this project, for sure.